Now, in Age of Ultron, the twins, the Maximoff twins, are in the film. They are two citizens of a fake Eastern European country with really bad fake Eastern European accents who get experimented on by Von Strucker using the magic science from Loki's staff.
The mind gem.
Yeah, and he turns them into like mutant type people. But
no,
you can't say that.
Don't say that.
You can't say them.
They are enhanced.
Yeah, they're enhanced.
Using the power of the mind gem, it unlocked their hidden potential. They are enhanced powered beings.
Yeah, so Scarlet Witch is a witch who happens to have mind control and telepathy as her powers. And Quicksilver, her brother, is really, really fast. Now, you might remember Quicksilver from the last X-Men movie, Days of Future Past, where Quicksilver was a teenager in that film who aided Magneto and Charles and Wolverine in busting Magneto out of the Pentagon.
He was in a movie for like about 10 minutes.
Even though he could have solved every one of those movies' problems.
Pretty much. But for some reason, everybody just louds over that scene. I thought it was a good scene.
No, the scene's incredible.
But, you know, if that's the best scene in your movie, as opposed to, like, the Avengers, where almost every scene could be considered a highlight reel.
Well, I mean, we're not comparing the movies. We're comparing the Quicksilvers.
Exactly, and that's what I'm going for. Like, it's all right that everybody like. It seems like everybody likes. Cause they're like, well, Quicksilver's in the X-Men was much better. And it's like
his action sequence in the X-Men was better.
See how his action sequence?
Yes, because he only had the one.
That's it. So
also, I didn't necessarily care for the actor who played him in that film either.
Exactly, I didn't care.
Although I didn't care for Aaron Taylor Johnson either.
I actually did. I thought he did a decent job.
I hated that accent.
I enjoyed he got the whole overconfident bragging.
No, he got that part right. That he's arrogant.
That's all what Quicksilver is about. If you ever read the comic book, it actually at some time or another explains why he's like that. There's a
he's annoyed because you're all too damn slow. All
right, thanks, sweetie. I was trying to get him to go read it, but anyway. So yeah, he did a good job. He came across as arrogant and conceited and annoying and stuff like that, which is what you want from your Quicksilver. And his speed, there was some really good speed things. He was more like a ballistic missile where he was using his speed less for delicate things like picking bullets out of the air, which to me, I thought
the science of that scene is faulty.
It looked cool. But
it would have to be his speed would have to be magic for the science of that scene.
It would have just wreaked havoc on the environment.
Like everyone in that room should be dead if he was going that fast. Like they should all be deaf. They shouldn't be able to hear.
But so anyway, this Quicksilver was a little bit more adherent to the laws of physics and stuff as one can be in a movie like this, a pretty much fantasy sci-fi movie. But yeah, it was a lot more like he was knocking stuff over, using his speed to like ram into stuff and move stuff out of place and knock stuff over. But he also did the delicate stuff like taking guns apart and taking the bullets out of your gun. He did a good job. It was adequate. I enjoyed it. It was fine. I like this Quicksilver actually. And I know this is sacrilege. I like this Quicksilver better than I liked the one from the X-Men Days of Future Past.
Well, if he's so great, why did Joss Whedon kill him instead of Hawkeye?
Man, you really are intent on just the diarrhea.
Die, Hawkeye, die!
You're just diarrhea and spoilers all over instead of just like letting it kind of come out. But okay, fine. Maybe because they needed
spoiler alert.
To die. They needed somebody
Quicksilver
to die.
dies.
They needed to say
or dies as they do in the comic book.
Somebody has to die in a Joss Whedon thing. That's pretty much a known thing, and because it had to be somebody that had to make an impact. And it couldn't have been like just some some throwaway dork. It had to be somebody. They were in a war, so it had to be somebody.
They had to have a real loss, which is why Hawkeye would have made sense.
Nah, that was too easy. That's too easy. Yeah.
Apparently it was too hard because he couldn't do it. All right, next question. Tony Stark, hero or villain?
Why are you even asking this question? It's obvious he's a villain.
Tony's just a realist.
No, it wasn't asking if he was unreal or real. It was asking if he's a hero or a villain. And he's a villain.
I think it's much more gray area. I don't think he's hero or villain in this film.
That tends to be a problem if you're on a superhero team. So I'm going to go and stop tippy-toeing around it and say that he was the secondary villain of this film.
The reason why Jada is making this argument is because Tony creates Ultron. But Tony also, in the film, spoiler alert, creates the Vision.
But he also sets up the twins becoming the antagonists to his own. So he makes his own monsters. He does something most people don't do, is makes his own adversaries. So because it turns out that he was responsible for the twins taking a heel turn, wrestling term. This meant they were being like the bad guys, or they were antagonists to them. It was because of something he did in his past. So you could kind of say he's kind of a bad guy, especially if you consider that Ultron's brain patterns are based on his. So basically, he's Tony Stark, except with a more malevolent, more like without the safeties on. That's what Ultron was. He was all of his bad and the more not so nice parts of him magnified. Selfish, narcissism, kind of a sadistic streak, all went up to really uncomfortable levels. So it was like they were fighting Tony Stark's worst offspring or something like that, made of metal.
Son of Tony.
Therefore, I stick with what I said. He's pretty much the bad
I
guy.
feel like it's very much a gray area. Tony has a legitimate concern about wanting to protect Earth because aliens invaded and nearly killed everybody, or at least they nearly leveled New York. If it hadn't been for Tony and the rest of the Avengers, we'd all be enslaved by Loki, kneeling to him, which I hear some people out there in the world would actually like to kneel to Loki, but, I prefer not.
I don't know if we would have been Loki's slaves or not, but regardless, Tony had some.
It's a legitimate fear. It's a legitimate fear to have after you've almost seen your world destroyed.
Well, yeah, that sounds good, but that doesn't mean you should go off and do like some kind of vigilante.
Do what you gotta do.
Yeah, why not? That seemed to work out great for him in all his other movies. So yeah, do what you gotta do, Tony. It's worked out.
Make it work.
Great.
Make it work. The Vision, I thought the Vision was amazing. He looks great. The animation was beautiful, blended in with Paul Bettany's face. The costume was awesome. The way he was portrayed was awesome. And the fact that, spoiler alert, the Vision is the one who picks up Thor's hammer in this movie was pretty awesome.
Vision was very well done. He stands up in those things with all the computer generated actors and special effects.
I was strangely physically attracted to Vision.
From Gollum,
what that was
the
about.
Incredible Hulk, the Caesar from Planet of the Apes, and now Vision. They're like the top 4, probably best.
Now, if you had told me
actors.
A pinkish red cartoon drawing was going to be like kind of physically hot, like I wouldn't have believed you. But he's kind of hot.
Okay, we're gonna have to cut you off. Cut your tap off.
Whatever. What does it mean when the Vision picked up Thor's hammer? So, like, earlier in the movie, there's like this gag where all the Avengers try to pick up Thor's hammer. The Cap actually budges it, if you look really closely, for a few seconds, which freaks out Thor, but Cap gives up. He stops trying. But Vision does pick it up. So what does that mean? Does it mean, like they joke in the movie, that the Vision's like an elevator? And, I mean, the hammer would go up an elevator if you sat it on it.
I guess it's open to interpretation. Because it could be that he's supposed to be a sentient being.
That is true.
And he seems to be noble, and it's only like a handful of people that are capable of picking up the hammer. Captain America is one of them, and apparently Vision, and a few other people we don't that aren't in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Interestingly enough, Storm appears to be capable of doing it too from the X-Men. But
do you think the hammer is an AI?
That's what my hypothesis was, that it's a sentient being as well, and that for it. Although there's a great article online that you can look up that actually goes into detail on why they're able to pick up Thor's hammer, like why it has something to do with nanoparticles and stuff like that. And if you're like into like science like I am, it goes into the physics behind it and why it's like programmed to like basically do something where it makes it heavy enough. It like pushes against what you're doing. Like it just becomes heavy enough, pushing against your force, trying to pull it up. It meets it with equal amount of force to keep it just where it is. That's why it's not heavy enough to break something like a table. If you put it on a table, it's not going to break the table, but it's going to push against your pulling at just the right amount so that it remains stationary. It's a fascinating article. But anyway.
Nerd!
I know you're not talking. I'm
proud of being a nerd. You're the one in denial.
I'm not a nerd. I'm a geek.
There ain't
a lot of nerds that do all this.
I don't know if a nerd lifts weights and works out, eats his Wheaties.
And looks like this. So, yeah. Anyway.
A nerd is a state of mind. It's a state of mind, buddy.
Your mind is all up in there. So, you carry on.
Anyway, the next section is the Minority Report.